And we are live. And hello, folks. And for
Yeah.
all of you who will be watching this on the replay and joining us a little bit soon here, this is Heather Johnson, and she is my guest today. And she has a channel. Her channel is by Brush, Bone, and Indigo Ash. And Heather here has done something this year that is a really a big thing. And we kind of want to talk a little bit about that big thing, which is she moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. And that is, and so that's a real big move. And she has moved to a nice little oasis in Southern Oregon. And so we are now on in roughly about 400 miles apart. No, it's not that far from border to border.
Well, you said about four.
Uh
You and I are about what 4 hour drive. I'm not sure what that would be.
oh well, I'm a hundred and plus miles to Eugene, and then to Southern Oregon. I think it might be another 3 or 4 hours
Yeah, because
more.
my
So I think it's
friend
like
Denise lives in Eugene, and she says
yeah,
depending on how fast she goes in the traffic, about between 3 to 4 hours. So
yeah. Well, because it would be like, okay, if I were to go to Eugene, I actually travel 99W, and rather than go clear out to I-5, which I could do that, but I have a huge aversion to going on the freeway and driving the real, I don't know. I prefer grinding those highway speeds down to like 40 miles an hour and driving. And so it's a nice,
I was on
so that
plenty
if,
of interstates from year
yeah,
to year. I got
yeah,
used to
but,
driving them.
but but to get beyond, south of Eugene, you have to hop onto to I-5 and then,
Mhm.
but
And
yeah,
the last day of the drive was grueling because of construction too. It was a 12-hour drive from,
yeah,
our last spot into Oregon. So yeah, that was a hell of a drive that day.
yeah. Well, welcome everybody in the chat. I'm trying to see if I remember to get everybody up on the stage here. So why don't you start by telling about that move and how that move has changed your life?
Wow. So many of you all, I see a lot of familiars from my other channel as my other channel as well. Knew that, you know, I'll always be a Buffalonian, always be a New York state of mind kind of gal. But things weren't going very well, really, for Shan and I in Western New York. We were living up in Niagara Falls, and things were getting pretty rough out there, especially at the place that we lived in. Wasn't sanitary. It wasn't
Mhm.
safe. It was just so. I told him, I said, well, instead of moving into Buffalo and stuff, and we've been in New York for 16 years up to that point. And hey, Amanda, hey, Irene. So I said to him, because he missed, he hadn't been back home. So Shan is originally from Oregon. So he grew up in Jacksonville and then on and off during his life before, and after the military, some areas around Medford and Ashland and things. Bend, also growing up in Bend. So he'd been away for about 40 years and he really
Mhm.
missed home. And I said, well, my relationship with my family was just nothing. I mean, I really didn't want to be associated with my family, at least, the ones closer. I got a few cousins I talked to, but, and, a lot of my friends there had their own life. My friend Christine, was in Binghamton. I rarely ever got to see her. Amanda, her and I will always be friends. We've known each other since 95. So it was just like, and my art career wasn't going really anywhere either. So I said, well, let's just do something different. Oregon is a clean state. They're very progressive, beautiful art town. And there is an agency actually here in Southern Oregon, Jackson County, called Access, and they help veterans and the homeless and people that were, lost their homes during the Almeida fire. And so, Shannon and I, were did an intake and they welcomed us. And so, you know, you know, we've been very blessed. Now, the drive was something else, let me tell you.
Mm,
I hadn't, driven on the last time I had driven a long distance like that. I was used to, briefly at one time between New York and Massachusetts, and then, I drove across to Arizona on my own. But back then, we didn't have the type of cell phones that we do now, and the way people have driven and changed driving over the years. And so I was kind of scared, and we fit whatever we could fit into my escape. We couldn't afford a $4,000 moving company, and so we pretty much left everything behind. Some of it was very
mm,
hard to,
yeah.
but it was for a brand new start, a healthier place to live. And so we made, and I got to actually drive through states that I have never been before. I
Mm,
never got to go through places like Nebraska, Wyoming, Utah. I mean, oh my God, when I first saw actual Salt Lake, I mean, I thought it was a tiny little, that thing was huge. And the color
yeah.
and the mountains
Mm,
just absolutely took my breath away. So,
mm,
but yeah, and every night at a motel, I would pop on, do a live on my phone and say, well, we made it here. So I was kind of
hmm
documenting that too, as well
yeah.
on the other channel.
hmm
And
Yeah, I haven't been east of Idaho. And
okay.
so the only states I have visited are Washington, because I lived in Washington for 8 years. It's been it's been since the 90s since I last went into California. And I'll be fine if I never go to California ever again. Um, but it's fine. It's fine by me. And then I have relatives in Idaho, and then I've lived in Oregon. And I was like thinking, God, it was when my buddy got married 20 years ago was the last time I went to Bend. And Bend is just up and over the mountain, and
Mhm.
and then it's just like I hardly ever go anywhere anymore. I'm just kind of here where I'm in the coastal mountains, about
Sounds beautiful.
um, Salem is the nearest big city is Salem, and then there's a smaller city of McMinnville, which I lived in McMinnville for a lot of years.
Mhm.
And McMinnville is like the heart of wine country in Oregon, because it's one of them. But so like a lot of the wines are grown in the Willamette Valley. Not the it's the Willamette Valley, but it's also the Yamhill Valley. And
Oh,
I'm
mhm.
at the edge of the Yamhill Valley, and
Okay.
that's where and I'm punching right up into the coastal mountains, and then where it's like the crappiest growing season of ever, and for unless you like are cheating it with like greenhouses and stuff like that, gardening is really rough. But anyways, but so
Well,
we are,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so Heather and I are here on the same side of the country, and so this is kind of
Oh.
exciting to have you here,
And
and
we
yeah,
also
so
have
that.
another fellow reader. She goes on every now and then because she's a very busy lady. But Amy, who was originally Mystic Rose Tarot, she's now Esoteric Rose Tarot. She lives here in Ashland as well, and we've seen each other a couple times and said hello. So I know a couple of YouTubers now here in Oregon. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's good. And so you made this big move, and you had this adventure going across the country and seeing things you'd never seen before, and it kind of. But then, of course, you're just seeing it from the car, and not necessarily getting out on the ground and actually seeing that. But going across Nebraska, because that's pretty flat, isn't it?
Yeah, but for me too, is we had to stop for hotels and we did have to stop for gas. And it was amazing because and it gave me an insight that despite what's going on in our country, and I don't talk about politics, but what's going on politically and how a lot of people are kind of divisive right now, even in those red states that we stopped in, people were extremely friendly. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're on a long trip here. A bag? You need a couple extra? I mean, people, no matter where we
Hmm.
went, were
That's
extremely kind, and it gave me hope again that
hmm.
people are people, and that a lot of us can get along, and a lot of it you just you leave behind, kind of that bad. And when you just actually meet a person, people are extremely friendly. So
Well,
um
exactly.
very.
It's that's the way it is that when you pull the social media out, everybody
Mhm.
in this country is for the most part the same. It's like I was watching uh, Ken Burns' The Revolution when it came out on PBS, 2 weeks ago, and it was like a 6-part series, so 6 times 2, like what, 12 hours, 12, almost 12. It's almost like a 12-hour long documentary. But when watching it, I was thinking I was extremely hopeful because that spirit that made this country, at least our portion of it, not the portion that was here before,
Mhm.
is still present in all of us.
Beautifully
And
said.
it's all here. And so it's just a matter is that it gives me a whole lot of hope. And so I
Me
don't.
too.
And then since the change of leadership, I pulled way back from consuming all that media,
Me
and
too.
trying to, and then also like trying to gain a morning ritual of just quiet every day
Yes,
instead of.
that's what I do. Yes,
Yeah,
quiet in the
yeah,
morning, cup of
yeah, yeah.
coffee, poetry, doing art, or just,
Hmm.
listening to music, just starting your day off, very calm, very soothing, and then,
Yeah,
gradually get into the day with it.
yeah. And so it's like I
Chance
bought
life.
a. Yeah, I had bought this book here, the Zohar, and I didn't realize it was been in my cart for like a year almost, and I and I
Yes,
and I
wow,
was.
this is Zohar.
Well, so the Zohar is a bunch of Kabbalist prayers,
Okay.
and the majority of the book is all in like Hebrew, and but it's like, but part of it is that the premise in just those few pages is that we live in a dark world, and our job is to pray light into it.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and then or
You need
it's
to
that it
you
would.
need to bring it back into balance. You have to have the dark for the light and vice versa. But
Yeah.
when that dark starts to overcome and start to overtake, that's when we need to bring each of us our own inner light to come out. And
Yeah.
it does help. People don't think,
Hmm.
what can little old me do? Well, little old you, if you can be able to send that love and that light out, to people, it
Hmm.
does come together as a collective, and it can do good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yep,
Well,
I
and it's
agree
like
with
and looking at it, I think, oh, this sounds like they're practicing magic here.
you. Mm-hmm. Of course.
It's they're it's all but they just call it something else, and it's that whole.
Mhm.
It's that
Words
this.
have power. This is what we've been talking a lot about lately on my channel, is that
Hmm.
if people mention that in chat coming elsewhere, words have power. We speak spells every day, and we need to be mindful of what we're speaking to others and to ourselves, and what we're speaking to spirit.
Yeah.
So exactly. So
Well, yeah,
it doesn't matter who you are or
that
where
was
you're
actually,
speaking
yeah,
from.
and
Hmm.
that was talked about I know I don't want to didn't want to go here, but it was talked about that in the Gospels, where
Hmm.
thinking is the same as doing. And if you have, and I kind of think about that of like people who um, buy firearms. It makes me think: does that person have murder in their heart
Yeah,
when they
and
buy
I
a
can, and I can answer that no, because somebody here who helps me as a care coordinator, that's his enjoyment. He was brought up hunting and stuff, and for him, you know, he his hobby, his workshop is creating guns, and I'm just kind of like, oh, but he's not a bad person. This is something that this is his hobby. Some people like to craft and make,
Mm.
furniture. Some of us like to do art. Some of us, and for him, his upbringing or whatever, for him, makes him happy and helps him connect with his ancestors and his loved ones is in,
Uh,
having been a soldier and serving, this country. Um, that's where he finds his peace. And him and I have, had a little bit of a discussion, and he says that he agrees there does need to be better
mm.
laws into place, but
Yeah.
the guns
Mm. Yeah.
themselves are not inherently evil. It's, so, but yeah,
Yeah.
so I can kind of say I've met people, kind of almost on both sides, so to speak, on certain
Yeah. Well,
topics.
that wasn't where I wanted to go anyway. But so, anyways, we'll just try to go back on
All
to
right.
your channel. So you made this move, and
Mm-hmm.
then you started a brand new channel.
Mm-hmm. Um,
And I noticed that you don't have any long play videos or shorts. You have just gone with just live streams.
I enjoy live streams because I get to talk to people. It's not just me talking to my screen. I love
Yeah.
interaction with people.
Hmm.
And right now my subscription on this channel is low, but at the same time, when I see people popping in my chat, they bring a smile to my face. In the past there were people who would pop in that I kind of be like, oh boy, what I mean? When I see people popping in, I know that they're there because they know that we all care about each other, that we hold space for each other. People know that there is kindness and respect in my channel, even though and in chat, even though we may not agree on things, people, as long as it's respectful, we're allowed to share, our different thoughts and feelings. And like when Jax pops in, and Irene, Isadora, it's so nice to see you, sweetheart. So I'm thinking about somehow maybe combining. And Selena works 16 hours a day. For her to even pop in and say hi
Yeah.
absolutely warmed my heart. So she's a
Yes.
beautiful soul that has
Hmm.
stuck with me over this past summer. And so so when certain people pop in, Miss Tarot D, Tom, I do, working as we speak. And then on top of it, she's going to school, and she's a wife, and she's a fur mom, and she's a human mom. I mean, I don't know how, she does it. Selena's an inspiration. Some days when things get rough, I'm just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I think about Selena, and it's like, oh, she
Hmm.
can do it, I can do it. So
That's
with,
right.
with this
She's
channel, I'm
very.
thinking about maybe, oh, I love you too, sweetheart. Um, maybe combining the two. Um, we'll have to see. And I'm going to say it now, people over the years, why can't you just stick to one channel name? And I'm just like, because I'm a creative. I grow. I love to play with words. And as I'm growing and changing and adapting, I like to explore other names, for my channel. For me, my channel is not like I'm not aiming it to make it
Mhm.
a large income base. So some people like to keep to a certain short name or something for, marketing and things and stuff. But for me, it'll be nice to maybe at some point get some super chats or get donations again and whatnot. But for me, it's my platform to share my art, my
Mhm.
poetry, and be who I am. And this
Mhm.
past year with this new channel, um, there were times when I shared things that were very important to me, or or made me pause and maybe had a little concern. And then when I should be able to talk about these things. And if I bring up an opinion of mine that's going to be extremely contradictory to somebody else's, I always let people know, this is how I'm perceiving something. This is how I'm feeling. It doesn't reflect on anybody else or the topic that I'm talking about. I'm just open for conversation. And sometimes that goes over well. And then, like the summer, it didn't a couple times. So for me, it's
Mhm.
just spirit allowing me to see and allowing people into my circle um, that are meant to be there. And, my Selena, my Miss Tarot D, my Irene, Jax.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been meeting new people now too. So it's a constant evolution because, people change, people grow. And, I always still
Yes.
love and care about people, even though I may have had a falling out, or if I'm no longer in those circles. I can appreciate all of them because they have been there on this journey and have helped me get the here to where I'm at now through
Mm-hmm.
lessons and being friends at certain periods of time. So to me, I don't take anything lightly. I
Mm-hmm.
see everything as an opportunity for growth, and I appreciate every single person that's been in my life, whether or not we still speak. They'll always be right
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah. And Ashland,
Yes.
it's like Ashland. That's like the Shakespeare center of the
The
United
world.
States,
Yeah,
of the
and
world.
almost the world. A lot of people will come from, oh yeah, during the summer here at Lithia Park. I would be sitting by the ponds and things where people walking by from all different countries. I was hearing Polish, not well, Irish too. Yeah, we had Irish gentlemen. I remember in the one parking lot I've heard people speaking French and Italian, and so a lot of people come here for the Shakespearean festival and stages that we have here, as well as for Lithia Park. It's an absolutely gorgeous park,
Mm.
very strongly connected to Fae. There is a strong elemental Fae energy here. We are wrapped up in the mountains, and today, we're in December, and it was like 55 degrees out, and the sun and the mist and the clouds were hanging in the mountains, and it gets so magical. So yeah, it's
So
taking
are
a
you?
while to get rooted here, but I'm getting there.
Well, yeah, of course. You've only been there what 10 months because.
Yeah, we left on Easter. I drove. I say we, but I did the driving. But we left on Easter Sunday. Got here on Thursday. Access took us in and did an intake immediately on Friday. They got us into the Cedarwood Inn, small 1 bedroom. It wasn't small, but it was a 1 bedroom, space, and paid for our stay there for a month until they helped us get into one of their buildings here. And what we went from and what we have now, especially at the price, and it's so clean. The people are friendly. Everything's just it's an absolute night and day from where we came from. So.
Well, and then there are the environmental laws that exist on the West Coast that don't
Mhm.
necessarily exist in other places because,
Nope.
Oregon has, much to the chagrin of a lot of peoples, they would like it to be where you could dump toxic waste in the river, in which they have done that in the past, but people have worked really, really hard at cleaning that up. And
Yeah.
then, so you're down in Ashland, and their main industry is theater.
Well, there's theater. We have wineries down here as well. My next door neighbor, he works at one, and he even grows them on, his fence in his backyard. So during the summer, they would bring over zucchini to us, some tamales. They brought us a beautiful melon, and when their grapes were, coming to fruition on their vine, they were bringing us over fresh grown grapes, and they have beautiful flowers. So it's nice that people take pride in their yards, and and they're generally very friendly, here. Um, we do have, of course, um, what I'm not technically, we're not supposed to say homeless. We're supposed to say unhoused, but to me, it's the same thing. We have a lot of that here in Medford and in Ashland, and sometimes that causes some friction. But otherwise, it's just so much different than living you know back home. And when you're talking about toxic dumping, we were just around the block from Love Canal. And they're still finding, after all these years, after the first, expose on them, they're still finding stuff coming up into people's basements. Where we live down the street, the EPA had to let us know that they were unearthing more barrels that were being found. Everything's all kept, hush hush. And that's why people are just like amazed when I tell them, I'm from Niagara Falls. Oh, how beautiful. I said, well, Canadian side, yeah. I go, if you come over to the American, be very careful, because we had an increase in, all the businesses were shutting down. Homes were all boarded up. The gains, a lot of drive-bys and things. And so it's really taken a hit over the last 30 years or so. And yeah, we just needed to move out of that toxic energy, and now we're here.
And now you're here, and then it's
much different.
you're around all the trees, and then
yes.
there's like
mountains.
a huge.
I miss the mountains. So I used to live in Flagstaff, Arizona, where there were mountains, and moving back to New York, where we were, as much as I love home, we didn't live near the mountains. I miss the river that we used to go be able to sit by, but I love having the mountains back. And we have Lithia Park, where the creek runs through, and it's very pleasant. So,
well, you had the Rogue River, but how far away is the Rogue River from you?
I think, that's around, Grants Pass-ish. So I think it's about a 45-minute drive, but because my car is, my car's not super old, but when I had it looked at the last time, they're like, you got a lot of rust, girl. And I just finally made my last payment. I owe her now, but then, I'm starting to get some stuff popping up on her. And I'm like, nah, because I had to take out some loans to get us here. I had to do a lot of this and that, and I had to use those cards too once we were here. So it's just like, my light just came on for an oil change, and I'm like, oh my God, not already, so I'm hoping that she stays good so I can't drive her long distances right now. But when, we get on our feet and I can get a better vehicle, I'll definitely be making trips around. I want to see Crater Lake. I can't wait to see Crater Lake. I want to see my friend up in Eugene. I want to go to the coast, so yeah, a little at a time.
Just a little at a time. Now, the coast is beautiful. It's beautiful here. But the thing is, the difference in Oregon versus other states is that all of the coasts are public land, and that no one is allowed to own the beach.
That's nice.
And that's where is like a different attitude, and they've had that attitude here for a long time in Oregon, because it used to be, and I remember seeing some of this as a child when we did go visit family down in California. You would see the sign, welcome to Oregon, visit but don't stay. Don't it's
wondering if I was going to be welcomed here or not, because I heard of those stories.
It's the Governor Tom McCall, and that was like probably before I was born, but it was the whole. Yes, welcome to Oregon. Just don't stay. Bring your money and go.
I'm very happy and proud to say that since we've been here, even though communication between emails and people here need to improve with agencies, everybody here has been just welcome to your new home. We hope you're happy. It was an exact opposite of the negative YouTube videos where like, well, Oregonians, you're not welcome. I had that concern. Thank goodness, Shan, I can say, well, Shan's from Oregon, but otherwise though, everybody's been extremely helpful, very friendly. Nothing but being made to feel welcome here.
It's the anyways. So what you got here going on here is you stop your old channel, you make a move, and then you start a whole brand new life, a brand new channel, and then you're going from there. Now, of course, you are, as you said, you are doing a variety show because you're an artist, and as artists, they tend to get bored with doing the same thing over and over again. And so you want your YouTube channel to be an expression of you.
Yep.
And so, like, for me, I wanted to start doing divination. So I knew that I couldn't do it here. So I just opened up a second channel to do it someplace else. And then you work really, really hard on staying on task, which is very, very difficult for me. And but yeah. And anyway, so that's great. And so, and then, which, as you told me backstage, is that you are now participating in your community more and going to open mic poetry, and then maybe participating in, maybe, getting, maybe if there's any art fairs in the city, going to art fairs,
Well, the
or
art is very clicky here. It's very closed off. When we first moved here, I went and introduced myself to a couple of the galleries, and they were like, "Oh, well, welcome," and not like, "Oh, let's see your art," or "What do you do?" It was
yeah.
very, so I was kind of like, well, I kind of had a feeling, and there is a group that gets up together on the weekends. Um, but you have to go through, you got to submit your curriculum vitae, which is basically an artist resume, and along with statements and artist, and images and whatnot. And of course, there's going to be quite a fee because we are in Ashland. So I figure it's probably going to take me a good year, but then, I came across this place that just opened up this year. It's called Artemisia Institute. Many people have heard me talking about it on my channel, but two women opened it. Erica is one. She actually lives in Crescent City, and she makes trips back and forth. They're hoping to move here at some point because her husband's in construction. But Anya, she is from Ukraine, because we have quite a few Ukraine immigrants here. And another woman who helps also, her name is Natalia, and she is from Siberia. She's Russian. And so between the both of them, the herbs that are sold in the stores are all land grown. Everything's homemade. I got to have some, authentic Ukrainian food, and pastries made. And so they sell, of course, drums and pottery, and it's just very beautiful. It's male as well, but it's a very beautiful. They don't sell tarot decks or anything like that, or crystals yet, maybe, but they are very welcoming of the community. They have a young woman there who does the tinctures that you can take into your mouth. There's sprays, smudge sprays. Again, the native hand painted drums, rattles, and they do, of course, open mic. And the last time we went, didn't know about the poetry. So this coming Friday, I'll be reading some of my poetry for the first time to people here in my new hometown. Plus, Artemisia Institute offered me, Erica said that this will probably be sometime next year. They'll let me use the space upstairs and have a small exhibition of my work. And so I'm starting to finally, and then I have my little crochet knitting group. That's a little bit more, like I can't really be myself there because a lot of the women are older, or there's people that, don't believe in the woohoo. But I can still go and work on a crocheting piece and still socialize. And so, yeah, little things are starting to open up now for me.
So maybe what we should do here is that you should practice doing a reading of a poem that you're going to read this Friday, so you can practice reading it for all of us so that we can share it with us too.
Well, I'm going to let everybody know that I didn't know I was going to be reading poetry until we got backstage a few minutes before show. But I do have some that I'm probably going to rework. But I do have one here that I got a couple. Some of them are, recent ones that I've been doing on my Sunday shows, where I pull cards, do a reading, and then write a little mini poem for you're loom knitting now. Oh my God, Beth. I mean, Elizabeth, I bet you that's beautiful, sweetheart. Stay frosty.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I can share a couple if you like.
Yeah, that would be. I think all of us would like that to hear some of
Sure.
your words and so forth.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I've also been bringing out two my hand painted cards, and I'm using those for some of my readings now. So yeah, I'm starting to feel comfortable enough and getting adjusted to my surroundings where it's like, because for a while there, with everything that was going on back in New York and everything good that was going here, there were a few things that we got bumps along the way in this past summer. And so for me, it's been I've been kind of afraid to feel like to trust and to relax into the place because I always felt like there was going to be when's the shoe going to drop kind of mentality.
Mm.
And now I'm trying to I'm getting out of that and I'm starting to find more of my rhythm here. Um, so
So
yeah,
the shoe didn't. So the shoe's not going to drop then.
no, I'm hoping not.
Yeah.
But things come up, like I said, my oil light came on today. And I just paid off
Wow.
my car and I'm like, no, okay, we can handle this universe. I talked to the car, told the car, you're gonna be okay. We'll take care of your
Hmm.
oil. You're gonna stay good for me for at least another year so we can save up and get you on and have somebody else. And then you know what I mean? So I'm trying to be very even talk energetically positive to the vehicle and my guides and myself and everything. So alrighty, I will then get started here. And some of these need to be rewritten, but let's
By
go.
reading it out loud, it'll give you some ideas about where you need to rework it.
Exactly. Alrighty, so silver filament of light shimmers in and out of sight, a delicate thread hinting upon a world unseen, drawn through the needle of Gaia's eye, guiding us to see a lineage of ancestral souls, our matrilineal trunks that bear the weight of our branches, bearing fruit, blossom, and foliage. Through cycles of seasons preparing us for our paths, our DNA anchored within their deep roots, we travel the sacred wheels of medicine, seasons, and the moon and stars, evolving like multicolored kaleidoscopic fractals. We become a part of their ancient maps, illustrated and gilded with our own bones, cells, sweat, and tears. And they taught us to bleed, a power to harvest, plant, and seed our bodies, never losing memory of how we once etched, polished, and made them sanctified in her many names. The ink is now contained within the fountain pen we hold balanced in our fingers. We can write the sacred women of our ancestors from mythology, archetype, and traditions and translate their sovereignty into a grimoire of our own spiritual evolution. So that's that one right there.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah. So we'll read more.
Well, hello, Tools of Fortune. Thank you. Do I know
But
you? Like,
that's my other channel. And
oh,
so
okay.
I'm logged on here with my other channel, and that's just me moderating me.
All righty. Just gotta moderate himself, right? So he's like, ha 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 ha. So okay, this one's a little rough, but thank you everybody, Elizabeth and Jax. Thank you. So here's another one. Um, Flicker fire within the cavern of this heart, wind whipping barren bows, reflecting in stormy skies behind her eyes, drafts tugging at the back of her hair like breaths of unseen specters, sports, snow spirits bejeweling shadows, twisting through time's mooring figure. The moon grows dim, a tear left in her wake. She feels the crone mother settling within her own bones, An ancient breath escapes weathered lips, from polished stone to creasing flesh, clutching a cauldron of alabaster, charred and black. There is no turning back. So that one
Mhm.
needs to be reworked and a little maybe added more, but that was another one. So um
Well, I love listening to your voice, so I want you to read a couple more.
okay. And speaking of voice, even also being here at Artemisia the one day, I went to go in and see Amy, and the girl was having a birthday party, and she had a karaoke thing going with a kid, her and some
Mm.
kids and stuff. And I haven't sang in front of people in like 20 years when I
Oh,
left, Massachusetts, because I used to do the karaoke rounds with my friend Garrett, and I would perform and sometimes compete. And so for the first time in 20 some years, I got up and did a Stevie Nicks Fleetwood Mac song, and they're like, do more. And I'm like, no, that was okay. But I was like, oh, I still got it a little bit. So yeah, I'm still definitely, finding my tribe and getting back to
yeah.
to
Well,
who I
that's
am.
good that you're going to find rediscover who you are, and then also learn who you've become.
Hmm.
Because you come to a new place, and you just recently had a birthday, and you know what? I
Yes.
forgot. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, Bill.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Heather. Happy birthday to you.
And many more, hopefully. Thank you, Bill. Two people saying to me for my birthday this year,
They
Bill and
did.
Gerald. I got a recorded voice message from Gerald singing me happy birthday. That was cool. And cha cha cha. And there you go.
There you
So
go.
I have some little mini poems here. I have three of them that were written during one of my Sunday shows. And so they're small little, so I have three of them, and then that could be it, because they're not very long. And so I don't have everybody's name. So I'll just leave out whose poems were for who. Um, but Jax, you might recognize one of them. I know one of them was for one of your readings that I did. And also Lennon Smith, I did invite her. I haven't heard back from her yet, but I did invite her to join me for my channel for the poetry as well. So she's got some great stuff out there. She joined Karen and I actually at one time, and I think Ange Roots and Waves for a poetry.
Oh, I miss
So,
bands.
me too. I have to reach out to her and see how she's doing. But yeah, I miss Ange too. The last time I talked to her during the summer, she said she was very happy. More time to be out in nature with her family. Enjoying the new job and just being more at peace. And sometimes that's what we need to do. We need to take a step back.
That's
So,
true.
alrighty. So I have three of them, little ones here. Okay. Mist veils the sound, a silver thread shrouded within the sands of time that that winds through her hands, passes through her fingers, a deep breath for a moment, the magic lingers. And so these were based off of some of the cards I got for tarot readings on Sundays. So that's one there. And then this one is embrace the dance of butter yellow joy. Harvest the beauty that you sowed. Allow the universe to bless this contented path. Pearl of wisdom is dreaming within your spirit's breath. And that
Mm.
and then my last one here is tending to the soil within the womb of her heart, untangling the mangled roots and stones, and returning them gently with seeds among their wounded bones, a stem to unfurl, a coil to unravel, a blossom to bloom. So that one was Jack's because I saw the mangled in there. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have like a weekly writing group with people that I've been writing with since 2010. And
They have a group here that does that too.
yeah.
We meet on Tuesdays, but I'm just going to be
Hmm.
too much right now with everything else that's going on. But I'm looking towards joining that group. They meet at the library on Tuesdays from 7 until I think 9 o'clock. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to joining them at some point.
Yeah. I was like thinking, well, maybe I could read something here too. Something totally. Yeah, I did. This is like totally. It came out of my weekly writer group, and there are people from Seattle that I write with. And granted, there was a gap of time while I was where they didn't have the technology in order to connect up online.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, in 2020 we reconnected again. But they'd been writing. I had started this writing group in 2010 when I was still living in Seattle, and then these folks, they had continued to write all along, and so it was like that was like something. I was like, well, that's interesting. It's kind of nice, when you start something and then you notice that it's, you go away and then it's
It's
still
still
going
there.
on.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a testament. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So chained up, chained down, the devil inside stole my inspiration, my passion, my fire, my vision, my irritation. Too many lies, choices, illusions swirl inside the cloud of mind upside down, proposed on a seesaw of BS flows. Gossip flickering off tongues of fire, sword cracked open my chest, emotion spilled out like venom, a snake slithered inside, swallowed my inner. I don't know what that word is. Can't read my handwriting.
I have the same problem at times. That's why I said, that doesn't sound
my
right.
inner bugs or voice. I don't know what it is. I'll just leave it off. Anyways,
There you go.
I
Snap,
was,
snap,
I was
snap,
like,
Chanel.
I was like reading and thinking, did I even write that? I'm thinking, wow, that's interesting because I have a lot of stuff like that. I would be when you write a lot of stuff, you go back into the past and thinking, did I write that? I don't remember
Mm-hmm.
writing that.
There's some I read that and I'm like, ooh, I wrote that. I thought
Yeah.
that. And then there's
There.
other ones I'm like, oh, damn, this is good.
Well, yeah, there's that element of it, and then there's the other element of it. So it's like I've been wanting to share my first stuff, the stuff that I thought was all that back in 1994. But when I
Just like
start looking at it and I'm thinking, every time I'm thinking, I'll share it, and I think, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
I love
And
that you said 94, Bill, because that's when I was in college, I had to have some electives, and I noticed that they had two creative poetry classes. And I was like, oh, I always loved writing when I was in high school and everything. And when I was a teenager growing up, I said, I think I'm going to take this. Oh, my teacher, it was awful because everyone was like, oh, she's even in college, that whole attitude of, oh, she's the
mhm,
teacher that. But I just worked hard. I wanted, I was, I wanted to do good work. And I still have the originals too, where sometimes he would write beautiful work, or he'll write, ooh, rough, or do we can change this. But sometimes he would draw pictures and stuff. And his name was Professor Bernard. And but yeah, so that's around the time when I really started getting, into realizing, how much I loved poetry and how I wanted to continue working on, my craft. And he had hoped that at some point I would start submitting to publications and everything. And I never did, because for me, at least back then, we didn't have the iPads and the laptops. We had early on, early 93, just basic email, and stuff. And so if you
mhm.
wanted to submit your poetry or anything, you had to have a typewriter or a keyboard you had to have the proper headers, you had a proper, and all of that was just like, oh, I'm not going to worry about that at all. And then, I just followed through with my art and stuff. So at some point, I would love to be able to do like what you and Jeff did, go through Amazon and print out my own, publish my own work at some point.
Yeah, because I start actually I took my first creative writing class in 1987 at Chemeketa Community College in Salem, Oregon. But I remember it was it was kind of structured pretty freely. Every time when we started with a stream of consciousness free write. And I think that was something I was introduced to for the first time in my life at that time. And that whole notion of writing stream of consciousness, I think in one sense or another, it really changed my life, because it was, when I was older, it was my therapy,
Yes, me
or I would, I would go sit at, when I was in Seattle, I would go sit at St. James Cathedral Church, and in the, after work or before the evening mass started and then, what is that? A squirrel is walking, is trying to get through the fence. Yes, a squirrel, and it's trying to get through the fence, and it's got this big giant apple in its mouth. And so, anyways, sorry, I got distracted by the squirrel running by. But so I sit there, and then being man and not being connected with self or emotions, or trying to be connected to self and emotions. You sit there with the notebook, and then you say, what am I feeling? And write that down. And then you start writing. And then you write until you stop writing. And then you look at that and you're thinking, wow, I'm feeling all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That was something that he would have us do for class, was also to keep a small notebook on us. And even if it was one word, write down this word. If something caught your eye, you don't have to write a whole poem about it. What initially caught your eye, keywords, or if they were song lyrics or something, and come this, bring it to class and see if you can maybe at some point in one of your your assignments utilize that, because sometimes all we can do is just write maybe one or two words, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back
Yeah.
the next day and maybe you'll have a couple more, maybe a full sentence, but just at least getting one or two words down. That way it shows that you start opening up, and you're letting your spirit and your psyche know it's like, it's okay, this is a safe place for us to share how we feel. Let's have this conversation, and I'm talking about us having that conversation with ourselves, and allowing
Yes.
that
Yeah.
to take on a life of its own. It's very
Mm-hmm.
therapeutic.
Yeah, it is, because it's like, as a kid, I was bullied a lot,
Me
and
too.
a lot of people were, but I had done a ton of forgiveness work, and the biggest piece of forgiveness work I did was show up to my class reunions.
Oh wow. I
And
never.
I've been to every single one of them except for one, which was I think it was the 10-year or the 15. I think it was a 10-year, and I went to a movie with my father to see the re-release of Apocalypse Now, because at that time in my life, that was one of my favorite movies. And I watched that movie so many times. I don't necessarily need to watch it anymore, but I still love that movie, and then of course I seen the other version of it, which they remade that movie, but it was instead it was a spaceship that was going out to the edge of the solar system, and so I was like, so what's Washington? Hold on, this sounds really familiar. This is Apocalypse Now. It's the same concept, and it's like,
2.0.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyways, it's that whole sense of you know writing as a means to get in touch with yourself and learn who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only
Yeah.
you can
So,
tell yourself who you are. We can have loved ones, or we can have people who are enemies tell us who we are, but ultimately we are the ones that,
Hmm.
know
Yeah.
ourselves the most. And but yeah.
Well, I had like I remembered something where I was when I was younger, and some older person was saying, "Oh, I'm still like shocked at who I am. I'm still learning things about myself, and I am shocked. Sometimes I get really shocked, and now I'm like 50, what, 57, 50, almost 58 years old, and then yeah, there are things about myself that I find shocking, and I think, where the hell did that stuff come from?
Yeah, and it's
You
funny too because I was the people ask me, "Oh, you write poetry?" I'm like, "Yeah." They go, "Well, who are your favorite poets?" And to be honest, I don't really read other people's poetry. I mean, every now and then I might come across like something with
Mm-hmm.
Rumi, or people ask me, the one poem or a poet that I can pull up top of my head, and is Robert Frost. And for me, my favorite poem
Yeah.
um, is
Mm-hmm.
Nothing Gold Can Stay, and that was included in The Outsiders. And for me, that was a book that I embraced because I knew what it was like to be bullied and picked on and jumped on because I was
Mm-hmm.
poor. I was bullied terribly from, you know, it really escalated around first or second grade, and it did not stop no matter what, because my mom and I moved around because my mom and left my dad, and it didn't really matter what school I went to. It did not end until after I graduated from high school. I mean, I had 1
Yeah.
year of reprieve my freshman year, but that was because my best friend at the time, everyone liked her, and she was a big black girl, and nobody would mess with Heather, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when I was friends with her. But when she dropped out of school, it was like open season,
Uh,
you know.
you felt kind of alone. Yeah. So
Yeah,
alone.
it
Yeah.
wasn't until I got to
Yeah.
college that my world really opened up to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I discovered, a friend of mine, and she taught me. I discovered, Wicca and witchcraft and paganism and goddess worship, and then I started, learning about my connection with art, and then I did the poetry. You know what I mean? It just
Mm-hmm.
everything started opening up to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, that's great. You get into, and that's also probably when you got introduced to the tarot and things like that, was during that time, or was
I
that a
was
little bit later?
actually the tarot. It's funny because when I was 15, my
Mm-hmm.
mom was friends with Danielle, this woman named Danielle, and Danielle did the fake nails and everything, but she was also a psychic and she read cards, but
Mm-hmm.
she used the playing cards. So I really didn't have an idea of tarot or anything. It wasn't until my junior year in high school when a woman came to our high school. She was a local poet and was offering to sit down with any students who would be interested in learning how to write or wanted to share poetry. And when it came to my class, me and this other boy named John, who I ended up falling in love with in high school, he was like, "Well, I write poetry." And I'm like, "You write poetry?" And so we went to, poetry workshop, and look, she pulls out the Thoth deck, and she goes, "Have you
Mm-hmm.
ever seen these cards?" And they're like, "No, I can't remember Johnson." She goes, "I want you to look through these, pick out a card, and then write a poem about it." And then, of
Ah.
course, for me, the first card that I saw was like, "Oh, I have to write a poem on this," was the High Priestess.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember which one he picked, but for me, that was my very first that I can remember exposure to tarot. And then it wasn't until after, I got out of high school and, got into college and stuff that I would get a deck. I had a couple decks, and, I would, read for myself because I would have to read the book because I couldn't memorize all the information. And I'd read for my mom or for a friend or something. But yeah, it didn't really pick up the reading until lockdown, when people started doing poet readings on politics and things and stuff. And I started learning about Lenormand, and there's more than one ways to read tarot, and then there's oracle cards. And so that lockdown, I know, was really hard, Bill, for a lot of people. But for me, it was an amazing reprieve. I got to be able
Yeah.
to learn. I got all different, art
Mm,
supplies. I got to explore with my art. I got to learn more about myself with divination. I got the courage to start my own channel. Sherry H was the first one. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to do it too, Sharon. She's like, well, okay. And then, I did my first one. And so, it just, that time period, as hard as it was for a lot of people, um, just really, I think, offered a lot of people the opportunity to take time
mm,
to explore things that made them happy. And they realized, I don't want to keep working this tough job and running myself in the
yeah.
ground. People start opening their own businesses and they start
Hmm.
going back to school, and a lot of people found new avenues of, for past to explore. So while it had its very dark moments, it also had its very light moments, like AI
Yes.
too, the whole
Yeah.
process of AI as well.
Yeah, the 2020 and the lockdown, because I remember like it was like March and I was working. I had left the casino in I had left my casino job and it was like the spring of 2019, and then I went to a restaurant and I worked in a restaurant for the first time. And I think it was a huge mistake because of the money and then the drive, but it had opened things up a bit, and it showed things. I had whatever it was, but I remember that when the terror or of that virus hitting, and then it was like the Blob, the movie, the movie The Blob, and then as the Blob is approaching, and it's like the virus is approaching, and so forth, and getting closer, and then you're kind of terrified because you don't, it's so unknown, and you don't know what is going to happen, and
Mhm.
then they shut everything down, and that job ended, and when they reopened things, that job never started back again for me.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
And but you know it was a matter is that I can't multitask, and I was mostly just waiting tables, but I kind of liked it. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, it was fun. It was
It made a lot of us reevaluate our lives at that
it
time.
did, and then it was like a year or so later, being in the quiet, and I just started being home and watching the animals, watching the cows, that's when I started watching the wild turkeys because I'd never seen them before. And okay, you know, okay, she's on mute, but so it's like watching these things, and in that I rediscovered my soul. I rediscovered my spirituality, which had been like shut down for because working in a casino and having a job that was like also money. It was all focused on money, and then and having that the bartending job, which was very much so focused on money and being way more money focused. And then it took like 2 years to unwind from all of that.
Mhm.
You
And,
know,
and and I apologize for having to shut my mic off, but I got a video chat from Miss Tarot D. Sometimes she likes to call me on the way from work, and so I had to tell her I'm on a live with Bill, and he says, "Okay, well, tell everybody." I said hello, give them my love, and I said will do. So much love to everybody from Miss Tarot D.
yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, that's good because I was just thinking about Miss Tarot D. It's been a while since
Sometimes she'll call,
I
on her way
wow
home.
that she get to call to her. That's great. And
Yeah,
yeah,
video
yeah,
chats.
yeah. Because yeah, so the whole slowing the life down a bit, and it's
Mhm,
just like
exactly. And
and that,
nature was even coming back where we were living. The animals were coming out back more. We would go to the river, and it
mm,
was just like it was cleaner. There wasn't so much noise. There were more birds. There were more wild, and
hmm,
it was so beautiful for that 6 months.
yeah,
I mean, I came down with it. Was
hmm,
it after lockdown? It was about a year, maybe year and a half or two after, and it kicked my ass. For me
yeah,
personally, I did not trust the whole you know, the whole event itself. And I sure as hell wasn't going to trust for myself, the pokes. I'll just say the pokes. So
hmm,
I never went ahead and got a poke. And I came down with it. It took about a month to get back on my feet, but it was just something that I had to deal with and take care of myself for. And hopefully I won't get it again. But
yeah. I've had it a few times, and
I
my
mean, I
mom
know
had it.
people, sorry.
Yeah, it put my mother in the hospital twice,
Oh wow. Okay.
and then we got it in 2023, right around our birthdays, because we have March birthdays, and that's also about the time that the tarot came into my life, because I was talking with an aunt, and then she was talking about her grandmother being kind of a bit of a fortune teller, and
Very
so
cool.
she read. I was she had I thought was thinking that was a tarot reader, but I had reclarified that. But she read tea leaves, and then she also, I think, she read playing cards,
Still
and
divination.
yeah, and but where she was born, her grandmother, my great grandmother, was born in Sweden in 1890, and
Oh, so you're Swedish.
well, there's that. I'm other things too,
Oh yeah, me too.
but but yeah. But anyway, so that's kind of,
Einstein here.
yeah. So that's kind of my journey, kind of with the tarot, began just while I was still sick with the COVID.
Mhm.
Um, a Paul Throck's poem coming on, Zippy Doo
I,
Dah.
I think
Yeah.
I think maybe he meant thorough. Um,
No, there is a
oh,
Thoreau,
there
but
is a
there
Thoreau.
is the
Oh,
there is this Thoreau guy who, um there's David Henry Thoreau, but there's another Thoreau who wrote a novel,
oh.
and what was the name of that book?
And I'm working on my
Shoot,
first novel too to finally see
shoot!
it.
It was about some guy who was an inventor, and then they just left America, and they went down to South America, and he kind of started a village or something on the Amazon River or whatever, or back down in there. Went deep into the Amazon, but I think he was kind of nuts. He was obsessed. Maybe he was kind of like maybe he was a bit on the narcissistic side, and then eventually his family fled him, and because they just didn't want to, because he kept on wanting to go deeper into the wilderness, deeper in, because he felt just around that corner is where I can find myself.
Yeah, I
And
think we all have those moments. Yeah,
yeah,
in life.
yeah, and that
Hmm.
was what. But his quest was finding this essential self, but his family wasn't on board with that. They just wanted to go back to their life of having washer and dryers and
Yeah.
TVs and whatever, Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Because the whole this whole
The
COVID,
fool's
it,
journey.
yeah,
He was on his
yeah, it
fool's
kind
journey.
of his own fool's journey. Yeah,
I don't like the
go
word
find.
fool though. I've never liked that word for the card because for somebody to want to take a risk, for someone who wants to have excitement for life and
Hmm.
explore who they are, to me, the word fool denotes that they're stupid, they're idiotic, this and that. Whereas for people who can really follow a true path of self discovery or a self quest like that, you know, to me, that's something beautiful. That's something to be
Hmm.
celebrated to a degree. So I always kind of had
Yeah.
feelings with the word, fool. So
Yeah. Well, I
this
think
is
probably
another thing.
a lot of time people do, but they kind of stick with the tradition of
Mhm.
what that is. Because what else would you call it? The Joker or something like that?
No, for me, I looking at it, I would be like the journey. It would be the uh, spirit quest or something, but to me, the traveler, you know,
Mm.
especially, words like that can, doesn't connotate a gender or anything, that it could be anybody who is on a path of self-discovery. So,
Well, I guess maybe because maybe the tarot needs to be completely updated and to pull out the monarchy types of figures in it as well.
I think the original blueprint, so to speak, is still very much valid today, but just kind of reinterpreted in modern times. And there's a lot of different deck creators. You find them on Etsy. I know the Light Seers has been a very popular deck for years for people. I never really resonated with it because although it is modernistic, it does show people in everyday, the unwinding path also, that I used to
Hmm.
have, modernized it. So I think that, it's good to be able to evolve and
Hmm.
explore, concepts in, modern times. Because it's hard to look at certain cards and I'm like, well, there's no such things as emperors anymore. Well, yeah, kind of, sort of, in a way, but, maybe, yeah, I don't know, but different plays with words or
Yeah.
something. But at the same time, when you see the image, or even might be a slightly different word, you still know what that traditional card was and what it means, Um, yeah.
Well, what I was have been thinking about wanting to do here, but maybe it's something that a show for the future would be to go look at the tarot decks because it would be like you go back, let's say, because I noticed this when I looked at the Sola Busca tarot, and I'm thinking those lives that those people were living were really horrible. It seems in that
Mhm.
dark ages. That do these
Yeah.
cards reflect the time period upon which they were composed in?
Hmm.
And so when you look at the the Tarot de Marseille, which was like 1700s, and it's still in that more medieval type of thing, and just the different realities that are there, this would make a nice like a panel discussion,
Yes, it would.
to go to go look at it, look at it, and then we look at the more modern ones because like you say, the Light Seer, you know, I have that deck. What I don't like about it is that the cards are too thick, and it is really hard to shuffle
Some decks, yes.
thick cards with thick cards because you can't riffle shuffle them because the cards are too thick. And
I've
then
never been able to do that.
when you do this kind, then you get a lot of jumpers because the cards they're hitting the edges on there, and they're just flying out all over the place. And yeah, and so yeah, that's kind of like. But I use like exclusively I use a keyword deck because I don't have all the cards memorized, and I use and it has nice cards that they're easy to shuffle, and you can do that riffle shuffling.
I mean,
But
it's hard. I mean, if you learn the basics, like for me, I know people say, well, if you're a real reader, you wouldn't be reading from the book. But I have decks by different creators, and I like reading from those books also because you get that an additional insight or perspective from that particular author and how it relates to the image that you're looking
mm-hmm.
at.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
gotten a lot of different decks lately, and some that were never. I If you told me I would be buying these like 6 months to a year ago, I'd be like, really, and I'm just
Well,
now
yeah.
like, wow, because
Hmm.
we change, energetically, you know.
Well, and it's kind of important. I feel like if you're going to be creating a deck, that you create your own guidebook to go along with it, because you are bringing your own understanding to it. And a person is kind of hard to, intuit that stuff out, because like there's a deck that I had gotten, and it was a DC Comics one, and they had completely gone through and redid all the images, but then the whole concepts of it were not reflected in their guidebook. They just took an old guidebook for a Rider-Waite tarot, and they just put it in there. I thought, well, why? So what it just suggested to me was that the people who put this deck together, they didn't know anything about tarot.
Yeah, you see a lot of those on Etsy with the. Now we've had Bill's been on my channel for a panel discussion for the Artist Decoded, an AI deck that came out about a year and a half ago. It's a beautiful deck, and with AI starting to come into the mainstream, it was a conversation about quality AI and artists working with AI generators to develop and express their art and to help others with it. Whereas now too, you see a lot of, creators, deck creators, especially on Etsy, that are just pumping out, these AI decks, and you look at the pictures, beautiful, but then when you're looking at, I'm like, no, they're just looking for a name, an image to throw a name on. And sometimes, you can, if you know your tarot, then you can use that too. For me, a lot of them are just people's faces. There's no suits or anything represented. But then at the same time, though, you can kind of look at them as a way of saying, well, okay, 5 of Swords, and you're looking at a picture of this girl. She don't look too happy. I'm like, well, the 5 of Swords means this, and that could possibly be this is a woman who's expressing this 5 of Swords, or someone with a feminine, you know what I mean? So you can find layers, but at the same time, I understand that people just throwing something on any card, just to make a deck to make money. So that where,
Yeah. Anyways, that's interesting. It's anyways. Well, you know what? We're getting out here at about an hour or so in, and I've had really a delightful conversation with you, Heather. And so I wanted to, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I wanted to have a crafting hour next Tuesday around the same time, where maybe if you have the time, but like I did one with Elizabeth last month, and I made construction paper turkeys, and so she did a watercolor pencil turkey, and so to go, this being Christmas coming up, and maybe it's more Christmas theme, maybe you do snowflakes, or you do whatever you want for Christmas, and then I think I would like to try having like me plus 3 other people come on, and then we do that. Yeah,
keep me in the loop. I just got brand new I bought 2 separate drawing pads of Mind Tints, and one is in gray colors and in warm colors. And I've been starting to pull out my colored pencils. So that would be fun to do something, with.
Yeah. I think the holiday thing, I think that would be fun. I don't have anything that I know of. Hopefully that's not the day that PGE decides to shut the power off for 4 hours, because it was actually supposed to be today, but they called and said, oh, we're not doing it because of the atmospheric river, and they won't be able to do that work that they needed to do. And
just so you know, Irene is Iron Fire Horse.
Oh, is that the one that I thought that she was a troll?
She was kind of confused. She is not a troll. No, she is a sweet.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. I apologize, Iron Fire, because I was almost about, because it was something about the comment about eating the donut first, and I'm thinking, what's that supposed to mean?
No, it's just, I was telling everybody that I had a donut for dessert along with a couple of
I see.
So she's all good.
Okay. All right. Well, I all right, great. Because I know that there was like this one time I had a live, and
Oh yeah, we carry that.
and Cosmic started to ban my sister, and my sister was in the chat, and then so because she was kind of not very up on like YouTube and chats and stuff like that, and so she was kind of going off on a tangent, and being that she worked in like medical insurance and stuff like that, and I think we mentioned, like, I don't know, something about insurance, but it was in a spiritual sense, and so she'd go off, oh yeah, let me tell you about insurance, and,
Yeah.
and then it was thinking, well, that's just like oddball things, and so anyways, so yeah, anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to do that next Tuesday, hopefully, like it maybe like this same time slot.
I'll have to let you know, because this is my off week from some specialists that I see.
Yeah.
So I will let you know if any of those appointments fall on that Tuesday. And if they do, maybe I'll be home in time. I'm not sure, but let me know what time, you want to do it. And I'll go check and see if I can join for that particular. If not, always
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, then you have your Friday night live streams that you are taking care of.
I've been doing pop-ups when I can, and my Friday. I don't have a guest for this Friday. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know what that is about. Let's just, Irene's all good, everybody. Let's leave Irene alone.
All right. Okay. All right.
But this Friday, I don't have a guest, but I will be doing my Friday show. And that's Saturday. Ginger Faye is going to be joining me on my channel. We're going to be doing a para-oracle reading, which is, looking into a paranormal, basically a paranormal investigation using our tarot and oracle cards. And, we're going to be investigating the house that Shan grew up here in Jacksonville that's haunted. But yeah.
Well, that sounds like a fun show. What time is that at?
I'll have to let you know, because her and I still have to, I think, iron out the exact time. So, but yeah, I will let everybody know. I'll pop up the thumbnail. But yeah, it's going to be this Saturday, and she's off. So
this Saturday. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I started a new show, because I'm on like trying to realize this channel and trying to do call in talk, and so that's where, and so on Friday night, now last Friday night I did my first kind of like an open panel thing where and Sarah popped in and we talked for a while. Of course, I made a mistake, because in that I had to step away and I left the mic open, and this is a brand new mic and it's really hot, and so when I was like closing doors, they sounded like the doors were slamming, and and then it was like, no, I wasn't fighting with I wasn't doing that. I was really embarrassed by that, and I haven't pulled the video. Maybe I should pull the video, but I don't know. It was like, oh gosh.
That'll be up to you.
I closed.
The video, and I kind of regret it. So be sure that when you delete the video, that it's something.
No. I just turn them to unlist. When I pull videos, I unlist them, and I don't make them private. Because I go through, and every now and then I go through and unlist 20, 30 live streams, or 20, a lot of just things, and probably if I didn't do that, the video count on this channel would be over 1,000 rather than at the 700 that it is, and just go through and clean.
What's your goal? Do you want to get over 1,000, or do you want to keep it under?
I mean, video wise?
No, for subscriber wise.
Oh no, my goal would be. I was talking about, what I'm talking about is that I go through and I clean through my.
So you can only watch so many videos. I get it. Okay.
Yeah. I go through it. I go through and clean out videos if it's they're like, when it comes to like shorts. I think eventually if my goals are ever met, which they probably never will be, it would be
Oh,
like,
don't put the negative in it.
I know, but I'm just you put the it's like at this time it's like when it's the short videos, anything under 500, unless it's something I really like, then I just
Yeah.
I make them unlisted, and then if it's all the long play videos that I've ever created are on this channel, except for maybe one or two, because there's one person asked me to take it down because I did a story about a haunted hotel, and the person didn't like the fact that I did a story on her haunted hotel, and then anyway, so I took it down, but I can still redo it. Is like I can still reinstate it, but nevertheless, it's what it is. And so all the,
you begin your videos with, this is, for entertainment purposes only. This is just me pulling cards on a place that I hear is haunted or have experienced personally for myself. This reading is not supported by the owner, or some, to just tell you to take it down,
Well, because my sister had some really amazing experiences going to them. My mother had stayed in there, and there was like all night long, the hotel room, the door was continually unlocking itself.
Wow. Is this in Oregon?
Oh yeah, it's in Oregon.
Well, backstage, let me know what it is if you don't.
I'll let you know what it is. I don't think the owner still
put cards on it.
I don't know that the owner, because the hotel, it used to be a morgue, and there used to be a morgue in the basement. It used to be a hotel, and or not a hotel, but a medical establishment, and where they were doing medical experiments.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna
that energy be in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know what it is backstage, and you can go pull cards on it, and
do a live.
And it's a paranormal hotspot for the state of Oregon.
Oh, well, all right then. For her to, oh my goodness.
Well, the rationale was that she felt that the ghosts needed to be protected there.
Oh, so she's gatekeeping in a way, sort of. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk, because before we end, though, that made me think of something. There is a place in south of Buffalo. There is an asylum that is everybody from all the paranormal people, popular ones, still have been there, and they were at a expo, a spiritual expo, and I approached the woman and her booth on the place, and talking about the tours and everything. And I remember just walking up to her and saying that do you ever have any mediums come and try to help some of these spirits move on? And the look she gave me, she was like, no one messes with my spirit, and then she just abruptly turned around, and I'm just like, so what, they're your meal ticket? And you know what I mean? It was that rubbed me the wrong way. So Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Well, I wanted to thank everybody for being here today, and and Heather had a wonderful journey, a wonderful time, but she also had this wonderful journey from the East Coast to the beautiful state of Oregon, and I'm so happy that you're here. And maybe one day we will be able to meet in person someday, and that would be great. Yeah. And so I want to thank everybody in the chat. That's Mangled Unicorn, Essence of the Moon, Zippity Doo Dah, More Intuitive Me, Mangled Uniform, Iron Force, Iron Fire Horse. I wonder, why did I say Iron Fly Horse, but Horsefly, but that's not it. And thank you, Kat. Thank you, Maria.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for joining. And hit that like button.
Let's see. Thank you, Isidore. Yeah, I like the video, and go to Heather's channel. I pinned it in the comments. Go and go there and subscribe to her new channel.
And survive.
And thank you, Maria. think, oh, there's Heather. Yeah, that's you're there.
Yeah.
And let me see. There's me, and I'm not thinking me. Not that self-centered. I can be that way, but and thank you, Mama Sushi.
Yes,
And yes, she was. And Elizabeth, and let me see if we go clear back. Was there anyone else that I missed? I know I got Elizabeth.
I don't believe so. I was saying hi to people in chat as they were coming in.
Yeah.
So I think we got everybody.
I think I got everybody. All right. And thank you. And then for everybody who watches this on the replay, if you possibly do, please leave a
comment.
3 green hearts in the comments. Green for the state of Oregon, because Oregon is a green place. Or maybe one of those leaves that is green. Because
I'm trying to get everybody to move out here.
Because where Ashland is almost like before the legalization of weed, the whole road was his biggest cash crop was weed. And then when I was like growing up, someplace that's not very far from about less than a mile around here in the 80s was one of the biggest drug busts in the state of Oregon. Happened in my backyard. It was a place that was there was the Ken Kesey yellow bus route that went from California up to Seattle, and where this place was called the Green Parrot Goat Ranch. It was one of the stops along the way. My great aunt solved a medical mystery there. She was a Polk County health nurse, and where she discovered that they were making wine in an old clawfoot lead lined bathtubs, and they were lead poisoning themselves and going nuts. And then after that, the whole Green Parrot Goat, and then so my dad bought a couple goats from the Green Parrot Goat Ranch. We had goats that when we were growing up, and they, because as like pets, for the whatever. And anyways, and then I went to high school with people who were children of the people there, and not high school, but school like 12, like all 12th grades. But anyway, so this guy, my dad had a lumber mill, and this guy got most of his sawdust he used for mulching those weed plants out of my father's lumber mill. And then he made roads, and he just got all this sawdust that he bought and whatever. And so he was moving in and out of a barn 1,000 plants a day. And so up, and it was after I graduated. I think it was like the late 80s when this drug bust happened. And then they raided the place, and then he was able to successfully evade the law for like 3 or 4 years before they caught up with him, because I think he was assuming other people's IDs. He would go into the cemetery and whatever and do stuff like that. I mean, it may not have been 3 or 4 years, but it was probably less than. It was a while.
Have their bill.
Yeah. Anyways, that was that. So the Green Parrot Goat Ranch was one of those stops of the yellow bus from, I think, Haight-Ashbury. No, I don't know. Woodstock is in California. No, in
Woodstock is in New York.
So it was Haight-Ashbury, in the Bay Area of California, and then they stopped at Eugene, and I think, and then because that's where Ken Kesey settled. He wrote Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Sometimes a Great Notion. Those are the 2 novels that he wrote. And then I think he wrote some other things. Anyways, that's some Oregon history for you. And where you are at in Ashland is right in the heart of what Oregon's largest cash crop was, other than timber, before the wine industry was established. Yeah. Anyways, that was it. And so that was it. And thank you everybody for being here. And we'll see you all the next time. Bye bye.